Hey folks, I am Kevin Iole. Welcome to Yahoo Sports. Cannot wait for Saturday in UFC 280 in Abu Dhabi. What a card they have put together. And in the co-main event, it is champion Aljamain Sterling defending his belt against my guest right now, TJ Dillashaw, the former champ. TJ, how are you, my friend?
Doing great. Amazing right now, and excited for Saturday as well.
BetMGM has Sterling as a minus 175 favorite, you as a plus 145 favorite. Let's start there. The odds surprised me that he is basically a 9-5 favorite over you. You surprised when you hear that you're an underdog in this fight?
People forget, man. People forget when you haven't been competing how dominant you are. So I'll have to remind them all. And I actually don't mind being an underdog. Every time I've come into a title fight, I've been an underdog. So to become a champion, I've been an underdog. I was an underdog against Barao. I was an underdog against No Love, Garbrandt. I'm now an underdog here. So let's just keep it rolling.
So, one of the things that has surprised me, when Sterling was fighting Peter Yan the last time out, a lot of bad blood between them because obviously what happened the first fight. There seems to be that, at least on his side towards you this time, and I did not see that coming. When I spoke to him last week and I brought up the fight, he referred to you as pillow shot, right? And he's made a lot of comments about your past and things like that. And I'm just curious, you think he's trying to get into your head, or what's going on with all this trash talk going on?
Yeah, probably try to get into my head as well as sell a fight and maybe pump himself up a little bit. I mean, everyone has to fight differently. Maybe he has to have some animosity towards someone to feel like he gets them going best. For me, I'm not really that kind of guy. I fight best. I'll call it as it is. I'll tell you fucking suck if you suck, and I'll tell you I'm better than you. But yeah, I'm going to get in there and do the whole social media thing. I think he tries a little too hard on social media. But I think it's just maybe the way he needs to get ready for a fight.
What does it feel like? Because you went through that 2-year suspension. You're coming back, and to get another crack at the title. I mean, does this feel different than the first time around, given the circumstances of it? Like, I'm sure there was a point in your life where you thought you may not ever get this again, right? Now here you are on the verge of a championship. Emotionally, what is it like for you?
No, I actually really never didn't think I wouldn't get here again. I think that's why I'm here, because I ultimately believed it. Like I said, when I beat Brow the first time, is all you got to do is believe. Believe you're gonna be the best, train your ass off, and it'll help you get here. I just said this in an interview earlier, just I don't know, 20 minutes ago, that I remember when I got the call about the suspension and talked to Hunter Campbell and apologized to him, told him like, "Hey man, I'm sorry about this. I'm sorry I brought any kind of bad light towards the UFC. But I'll make a promise to you that I'll be back, and I'll be back on top." And I believed it, man. So I never didn't think I wouldn't be here again. Maybe took a little bit longer. I didn't expect to blow my knee out in my last fight, but I'm back here, and I've envisioned this, man. It's the power of belief. I really believe in that secret. Envision what you want.
Was that something that, you've always had that confidence in, that sort of, belief that things are going to go your way if you work hard? Or is it something that you take, have a sports psychologist or somebody help you that kind of pushed you down that path?
I never used a sports psychologist. I mean, I think it's a smart thing to do, right? I definitely do. I just, through experience, kind of learned to be this way. I've wrestled my entire life since I was 8, and I used to deal with fear differently throughout my wrestling career and even my beginning of my fighting career. Because I think that we're all motivated by, for the most part, through fear. It's just about how you deal with that fear. If you're going to let that fear make you a harder worker, or you're going to make that fear freeze you, and how you enjoy using it. So for me, fear excites me, right? This whole thing of adrenaline, and that you have that in your body, and it creates that spark, is through fear. And so I just kind of use that to my advantage. I've just learned that through fights on how to use that fear.
All you guys, when you get, from Ultimate Fighter, or when you get into the actual UFC, you have to advance your game and you have to develop your game. To me, it seemed like the biggest development in your game, especially say when you went up to Barao, was your footwork and your ability to create angles on your feet and everything. And it was kind of almost like you became a mini Dominic Cruz in a way. Cruz was always known for that great footwork, and that's sort of what you had done. How have you taken it then? So we know you have the wrestling, you added that footwork. So in this time off that you had, what did you add to your game that we'll see against Sterling on Saturday?
I'll just continue to evolve and think about your weaknesses, which I feel like I have very few. Everyone's always got them, right? But the less you have, the better. And then kind of really just kind of comes around to opponent to opponent and adapting to each opponent and creating a style because of that opponent. And if you're well-rounded enough, you could do that. I mean, I didn't have footwork. I started creating the footwork, I think, when I fought Mike Easton. That was because of Dwayne and some of the stuff we're doing, fighting Southpaw and Orthodox. But I wouldn't say I created like a lot of my motion until I fought Barao the first time. And the reason why I did was watching a fight when he fought Eddie Wineland. I thought Eddie Wineland actually did a pretty good job against Barao that first round he fought him. Did a lot of good feints, right? Like he's got like hopping back and forth motion, did some good feints and kind of freeze Barao. And I was like, man, I don't think Barao likes the guy that moves. I really don't think he likes it. And so I just started that fight camp for 8 weeks, just feints, motion, and then just kind of you adapt. It's like, oh, that works. And then you find out the next thing, your next strength, right? Like I started doing a lot of Greco-Roman wrestling with Daryl Christensen for one of my fights. It's like, damn, now I got good body locks, right? Like, so you evolve based on who you're fighting, and then if it works for you, you keep it,
How do you see the matchup with Sterling? To me, I look at him as a really athletic fighter. Obviously he has wrestling, he has good quickness. So how do you deal with that, those two aspects, the wrestling and the quickness that he has? It seems to me like those are probably his two best attributes.
With being mean, man, I'm just gonna break him.
Do you feel like he's a guy, there's some fighters you look at and you go, they're never going to break, right? They're badasses and they're really tough.
We've seen him break.
So you feel like with him?
I do. I think he'll break. I think he's got that weakness in him. He's got that quit button. He's got to get to it.
Let me ask you about his first fight with Yon then, because that was a controversial fight, right? And a lot of people have said he quit in that fight. Like I watched that fight and I go, this is a very flagrant foul by Peter Yan, right? So, how are you obviously anybody blaming Sterling for that? I wonder how you look at that. Like, so how did you take it? Do you feel like he quit in that fight, or do you feel like there was a give in him in that fight, or, how did you view it?
He was going to get finished in that fight. Unfortunately for Yan, he got finished the way he did because Yan was going to beat him and finish him. But the rules are rules, and obviously Sterling, should have got the victory of that. I don't think he should get a belt because of it. And I definitely don't think he should handle it the way he handled it. Like, whatever, you got the belt. And he was like disappointed about it at first. And then like an hour later, he's like taking a picture with it and he's the best, right? So it's more of that than anything. But rules are rules, man. You
are a guy that has always tried to make history or do things, when you fought Cejudo, you tried to get, 2 belts and whatnot. So what would history be for you? I know you believe you're going to win this fight. You're the underdog. You believe you're going to cover as an underdog. What happens? What's going to be next to be the history-making moment for TJ Dillashaw?
I just got to keep breaking. It's not breaking. Just keep adding to my records, right? I want them to stand as long as they can, right? That's how you're remembered, is if your records cannot be beaten, right? So unfortunately, I haven't been active enough to put some distance in myself in those records, but now it's time to do that. Now it's time to pad those records a little bit. So
you're coming off a knee injury that's kept you out for quite a while since Corey Sandhagen. How if you rehab that? Like, and sometimes they say, you can never be quite the same, right? Do you believe that you're as good or some better, or, is there any concerns at all in how your knee is going to perform?
He feels great. I definitely was worried about it during the recovery. But after that second surgery I had, getting stem cell therapy done, and just making sure I was really active with my physical therapy, it's great now. It's definitely not even a thought in my head to think about my knee. But I'd say, 7-8 months in, I was like, man, what the hell? This thing's not coming back together. I just didn't realize how much work I needed done in there. And I had to get the scar tissue cleaned out in the second surgery because my knee would get really swollen after training. I couldn't get my heel to my butt.
Right.
I couldn't jump very well. Like, there's a lot of things. It was like, how am I going to be the athlete that I am with one leg? I was able to do it once, but I'm going into a fight and people know this, it's going to be a different story, right? So, but I feel good now. So that's awesome.
Was there an aha moment, like when you were in training and all of a sudden, you felt like one day to another, there was a huge difference and you felt like, now I'm TJ again? Do you remember a moment in training when that happened?
It was when I came back after that second surgery, because that second surgery wasn't that long of a layoff because it was with a scope and they had to go in there and clean it out. So I was, not doing super hard training for a good, 3-4 weeks. And then once I came back, I was like, nice, man. Like, this doesn't have to keep me up at night of, I'm never going to be the same, like, as well as being able to run around and chase my 4-year-old and be able to be an active dad with him, to be able to get on the mats with him or whatever it's going to be here in the future, that I know that it seems pretty good. I'm sure, I don't know, down the road, I'll probably have to get some sort of knee replacement just because how much work was done in there. But right now it's good.
Wow. Well, let's wrap up with this. From the first time you were a bantamweight champion till now, I think the division has really gotten a lot better. Some people think it's the best division in the UFC. Certainly, to me, it's up there with lightweight and a couple other divisions. What does it mean to you now if you're in the best the bantamweight division has ever been and you're the champion? I mean, does that say something more? Act 2 is even better than Act 1.
I guess. I think more so just the overall journey, man. Just being able to be on top since 2014, and continue to get old in this sport and age like fine wine and stay on top.
Awesome. Well, good stuff. TJ Dillashaw, we wish you the best Saturday at UFC 280. Thank you so much for your time. Always good talking to you, my man.
Absolutely. You too. You have a good one, huh?
See you, bro.